Phanerogams. Subkingdom Phanerogams of kingdom Plantae comprises flowering and seed-bearing plants. On the basis of whether the seeds are naked or enclosed in a fruit, it is classified into two divisions, namely Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. Gymnosperms. Example of Gymnosperms is Pinus or pine. The pine trees are evergreen and usually seen in coniferous forests. The plant body is a sporophyte and is differentiated into stem, roots and leaves. The leaves of pine are thin and needle-like in shape. The lower branches of the tree contain male cones, also called microsporangium, and the upper branches contain female cones, also called megasporangium, which is larger than the male cone. Mature microsporangium dehisces and releases pollen grains or microspores. These microspores are pollinated by wind. The microspores form the male gametes, which after pollination fertilize the egg cell in the ovule to form diploid zygote. The zygote then develops into seed, which lie naked in the female cone. Angiosperms. Angiosperms are flowering plants. Flowers are well developed in these plants and represent the sporophyte. They are either unisexual or bisexual. The flower shows various floral parts like the calyx, corolla, carpels, and stamens. Stamens are the male reproductive parts that consist of stalk-like filaments with pollen-bearing anthers at the anterior end. The anthers produce microspores or pollen grains. These pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the carpel, which is the female reproductive part. Pollination takes place either by wind, insects, or water. Once the pollen grain is deposited on the stigma, it germinates to form a pollen tube. This pollen tube grows right through the style. It contains a tube nucleus and a generative nucleus and reaches the ovary where ovules are located. Through a narrow opening in ovule, the pollen tube enters the ovule. Just before entering the ovule, the generative nucleus divides to form two male gametes. Once inside the ovule, the pollen tube releases two male gametes into the embryo sac. The embryo sac contains the egg or female gamete along with other cells. One of the male gametes successfully unites with the egg to form a zygote, and this process of fusion of the male and female gametes is called fertilization. The other male gamete fuses with these two polar nuclei to form endosperm nucleus. This process is called triple fusion, as three nuclei are involved in the process. One male gamete and two polar nuclei. Thus, two fusions take place inside the embryo sac, and the whole process is called double fertilization. After fertilization, the ovary develops into a fruit, and the ovules develop into seeds. The angiosperms are divided into two classes, monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Monocotyledons. The seeds of these plants have a single cotyledon. The seeds are mostly endospermic. Seed germination is of hypogeal type. The primary roots of these plants are mostly adventitious fibrous roots. Normally, the stem is unbranched. The nodes and internodes are distinctly seen. The veins in the leaves are arranged parallel to each other to form a parallel venation. Dicotyledons. These plants have seeds with two cotyledons. Mostly the seeds are non-endospermic. These plants show seed germination, that is, of the epigeal type. The primary root persists to produce a taproot system. The stem is normally branched and has distinct nodes and internodes. The stem and the root show secondary growth. The veins are arranged like a network to form a reticulate type of venation in leaves.